But getting right into our big stories this morning. The Akufo-Addo administration has been lampooned, has been criticized for misrepresenting the true state of Ghana's economy, leading to unrealistic expectations among citizens, as Finance Minister Dr. Cassiel Ato-Forson has slammed the erstwhile NPP government for the lack of transparency about the country's financial challenges, making it difficult for Ghanaians to grasp the full extent of the economic crisis. Today, we unpack the issues as revealed in the 2025 budget statement of this new administration. What is truth? What is false? We'll get into the details with our guest, Dr. Stephen Amoah. He's legislator for the Nhyiaeso community or constituency. He is a member of parliament for Nhyiaeso. He joins the conversation this morning. He'll be sharing with us his thoughts on what the true state of the economy is and whether it is different from what picture has been presented both at the SONA and also per the budget statement as delivered by Dr. Cassiel Ato-Forson. So we'll be getting into those details with him in just a bit, and we'll continue from there. So that's it for our big stories, and joining us, we have Dr. Stephen Amoah. Good morning, Doc. Anyway, let's get right into the details now.
Why this big sigh?
Well, it took a while to bring you into the picture.
Oh, my God.
Yes, it did. But anyway.
I was on Newsfile.
Oh, I actually followed you on Newsfile.
Ah, okay. Oh, this is your program. You be my friend and my brother.
Yes. It took a while to... But let's get into You were in Parliament. You followed everything. How did you find the budget statement as presented by Dr. Cassiel Ato-Forson on the 11th day of this month?
Thank you. My regards to our viewers and listeners this very morning, and thank you for having me here. I think I had twofold picture. One, I saw the true picture of what the previous regime or government led for the NDC government to continue. And I also saw a picture of some sort of trying to paint a doom picture just to discredit the previous government. So that dichotomy, I did not really understand what exactly they wanted to paint. And I think within the second picture, that is the second fold B, I saw a lot of promises, or I read a lot of promises. Whether they are realistic or not, we are yet to also see. And surprisingly, they had a number of targets. Only, I think, two of them, in my opinion, that they set targets below what they presented to us or what we left for them. So I found it very difficult, the angle they wanted to actually come out. But I also realized Dr. Ato-Forson was very composed. I mean, for the first time doing something like that, I thought he was going to be inhibited, but I didn't see that. So in summary, this is what I saw.
I followed a bit of what spokesperson for the NPP, I'm talking about Richard Ahiagba, has said about the budget statement, some of his reactions. I just want to read verbatim. He said, he posted actually, and he had this to say: the finance minister has demonstrated excellent political optics so far. There are strong indications that some existing taxes will be withdrawn, as His Excellency John Dramani Mahama promised. And then he goes on to enumerate 3 things he was looking forward to. But you speak about doom and gloom. What part of it made you feel the picture was being painted of doom and gloom from the past leading into the present?
Yes, I think it will be fair to touch on the first one that I'll come to, if you allow me, please. You know, it was stated emphatically clear without any ambiguity in the statement that the most important performance parameter, primary macro parameter, is the GDP growth. Because it sums up almost everything about how your economy is doing. They stated 5.7%. And I take it very serious because of the comments preceding that by His Excellency, John Dramani Mahama, and most of the NDC, including my own friend, Dr. Atoforsen, that we had left even an economy which was almost in coma. It was at the ICU, intensive care unit. Then you come back to say that officially this is the figure. And that figure is far higher than 2016, what they left, which was 3.6. Some jurisdictions even quote 3.4. And then another most important factor was the debt issue. That the way we were made to believe that Ghana is finished, the debt we left. In any case, you cannot quote just the nominal value or figure of a debt and you think that is bad. No, you need to do that against the assets. And in the case of a state, against the GDP. And the debt to GDP they quoted was 61.8, which is far below 72.5 that they left for us as time to be corrected. So that was where I said that no, we're exonerated. They painted that true picture. Then so 60, the other side,
60 what?
61.8. Then the other figure, other doom that you are asking me, which I think is a very relevant question, is when they started painting, we left a situation where a lot of IPCs, I mean, they were talking about agencies' debt, you know, components.
Are you talking of the IPPs?
No, IPCs.
Okay.
When I'm saying agencies' debt, I mean coming to road sector, coming to cocoa sector, coming to other agencies. I'm not saying that he was lying about them because I was even having the figures at that time, and I don't think he would lie about those things. But then he knew that government or governance is about continuity. Development is a process. That anyone that takes over a mandate from another regime comes to meet debt. And you continue, because it's cumulative in nature. We came and met debt. You remember when we came, the area of roads. You remember, I mean, we had to do a performance audit, and there were a whole lot of chaotic and whatever. They were disputing what we were saying. We were also emphasizing and we're entrenching most of our points. So it's been the whole, I would say, cyclical cliche, if I should put it. So if you come and you behave...
The difference, just my apologies, would be that you came and met a debt of around 120 billion, and now our debt stock stands at 721 billion. That's an addition of about 600 billion.
So this is where I want to tell you that, one, they are in different contexts. I can explain that. But I want to tell you that right now, the owner of your multimedia can owe $1 billion. I can owe $100,000. But my situation is rather getting close to bankruptcy. My situation is a dying situation. Why? My assets, probably my company and my assets, have been consumed by my debt. But 1 billion, probably the assets they have. That's why you don't talk about the figure. You talk about debt.
I don't think, you know, when these conversations come up, and I listen to you on Newsfile talk about these same things, which is why I am just going to state this premise. I think it's trite knowledge that debt is not just debt for debt's sake. The Americans owe trillions of dollars. Every year, their GDP hovers around between 13 and about 15 plus trillion dollars. But they are one of the most indebted countries. Why are they still as prosperous as they are? Because of how they manage the sectors of the economy, also taking into consideration inflationary rates and all of that on the back of COVID. We saw how they dealt with some of these challenges. So the fundamental understanding is there that debt is not debt simply for debt's sake. It depends on what the money you've taken is being used for and how futuristically it can pay dividends on its own, pay for itself. So I don't think that is a discussion we need to have. Now. So just make the point on then the debt
Do
stock.
you know sometimes the problem? Do you know sometimes the problem I
have?
have? The problem I have with some of you is that what you are saying is perfectly true. I mean, I cannot argue because you are making the right point. But the issue is, respectfully, it's my field. I've come here. Allow me to explain, because you may want a direction which may not be very schematic when it comes to analyzing these things. The point I'm making is so clear. You cannot say I should stop talking about it. If you owe 1 billion and you have assets worth more than 1 billion, if I owe 100,000 and I have assets less than 100,000, then you can say that, hey, this is what is happening. That is what I'm saying. You can't talk about the value. Even your analysis about American issue exonerates or confirm or affirm what I'm talking about. So it's not.
I'm not actually disputing what you're saying. I'm reinforcing it by saying that this angle of the discussion has been flogged.
Of course, but you brought back the value. So I still have to go back to it. If you asked me yesterday what happened, and it was ABCD, and you asked me, and because what I said was the truth, I need to make sure that I emphasize that. But the point that I'm making is that let me tell you the different context. In any case, NDC government picked from Kufuor about 9.2 billion. They handed over 122 billion they are talking about. In terms of percentage increase in the value, I don't want to go there. It was over 100, it was over 1,000%.
Why don't you want to go there? It's a discussion we've had. It's good to go there.
If I go there, it's like I'm still going back. What I'm saying, we shouldn't really talk about it too much. But when somebody wants to deal with the figures, then I'll go there and put them down. That they did over 1,000%. But then move beyond this. What happened? What led to Ghana to that situation? When in appraising performance, there's something that's very critical, and that is uncontrollable factors. We had a situation post-COVID that is not only Ghana, but in Ghana here, government workers, i.e. civil servants and public servants, my brother, were asked to stay home, but they were paid. Have we forgotten? It happened for a few months, and then beyond the months, they run shift. Maybe 10 will go 2 weeks, another 10 will go another 10 weeks. For over 11 months, private sector then sacked over 40,000 people. Some of them wound up. We had revenue shortfalls of almost 12 billion. We had impaired productivity. Markets were not working. Ships coming up and down. If 10 coming, only one was coming within the same period of time. The global economy went so bad that the debt to GDP of the world post-COVID went to almost 300%. Inflationary rate change, the percentage change in inflationary rate, get me of the world, went beyond 200%. Definitely, a country that is economic, is import-driven economy, that we depend remarkably on foreign economies. What will happen to us? So people are forgetting the fact that we use debt financing and revenue we generate. And we have revenue shortfall of about 12 billion. We have statutory performances to have, and that's why the president then made a statement that if somebody dies, if you lose a life, you can't bring the life back. But if the economy gets back, you can restore it. So we're in a situation where our revenue was woefully impaired in terms of collection because the market had been impaired, productivity had been impaired. Debt financing was the most available option because we needed to save lives. We needed to make sure that statutory obligations have been performed. Health, infrastructure could even wait. But talking about health, talking about energy, talking about education, talking about other obligations. And we perform these things very well. And if you read even PFM Act 2016, I stand to be corrected, Act 921, Section 18, because of some of these uncertainties, that section of the Act and its subsections talk about the fact that there are 3 situations under which even fiscal rules or policies and other things or consultation should be suspended. 1, war. 2, natural disaster. 3, I think epidemic or whatever, that big time issues with health. So even the laws themselves create some sort of space for some of these things to be managed. So what we are saying is that if you have a situation where people were not working but they were paid, if you have a situation where private sector had collapsed, if you had a situation where, trust me, the market had been totally impaired, and nothing was happening, the GDP was not growing, your debt to GDP will go up. But the good news is that after all these things happened in the world and happened in Ghana, and Ghanaians suffered, and there was a holdout. Holdout means issuers of bonds and securities came to the point that they could not perform the obligations again. So you need to resort to restructuring. That led to DDEP, extending the maturity and working on even coupons we pay. You know, all these things were very unpalatable to those who suffered, and I side with them. But they were uncontrollable factors. But beyond that, I want to end with this if you want to ask me a question. Beyond that, what did we see in 2024? Check the figures. We were able to restore most of them they were on the path of restoration to the extent that the economy that grew 0.4 or 5, when the world grew negative 3.3, were able to restore to the extent that we're growing over 5%. The economy that inflation rate went to 54.1, we're able to bring it down to about 23. And check almost all the primary macro indicators. Our primary balance and our fiscal balance, indicators that were positioning us in a very good fiscal consolidation state. So we are not saying we didn't leave anything bad, anything troubling. But the fact is that our debt as of that time, I wouldn't say, some could also be maybe mismanagement, wastage. I cannot say that everything was about. But we were in a situation that right now, you are working, you pay your case fees, you do everything, you generate money. If you are married, your wife also does. And then something uncontrollable happens. And then the money you generate either go down slow or you don't even generate anything. Your wife too, you feed your kids. What will happen? Probably you go to people to take money to take care of your kids. There will be debt. But you wouldn't let your kids die. Practically, let us begin to appreciate this. Not that we don't acknowledge the fact that Ghanaians suffered.
Right.
That most of the things we didn't go wrong. Yes, they did. But mostly there were uncontrollable factors, and we made the right. And that's why the COVID. A lot of people did not die in Ghana. Okay. I sympathize with those who died. My condolences. But check all over the world. Countries that had a lot of fatalities compared that to Ghana. So I'm not saying Ghanaians don't have the right to complain, to be, castigating or doing anything bad to us. Okay. But we should also be understood from the point. I've
intentionally allowed you to expand
and
your
I'm sure
ideas
you understand what I'm trying to say. Yes.
I do understand, but the rest of us want to understand more. I'm going to hit you with a number of questions, so I want brief answers.
Okay.
But first, I want to start from, you're an economist, right?
Yeah, financial economist.
Great. I know you've done actuarial science and all of that. What makes for a strong economy?
What makes for a strong economy?
Yes.
I think you said I should make it brief, but such a question you can't talk.
Just enumerate. I don't want the details. I want what makes a strong economy. As an economist, what are the things, the optics that you will look at and say, if you see this, if you see that, if you see this, and these metrics are good, they are high, they are in a certain perspective, then you can say the economy is likely strong.
If you want to really be very technical,
right?
First, your primary balance, where you deal with difference between your revenue expenditure and non-interest expenditures. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Right, I get it.
An economy that the likelihood, the risk of being engulfed, overwhelmed with debt is 1. 2, economy that is very resilient, economy that can stand turbulence. 3, economy that we have sustainable jobs for the people. Economy that, in my opinion, has this strong import substitution posture, that you don't depend on somebody's economy. I think, in my opinion, these are the major issues.
Right.
Economy that is very stable.
Very important points you make, but also according to a lot of the literature I have read, you would be looking at things like functioning economic institutions. You can look at the central bank and others and their output. You would look at sound policies in respect of low taxes, a strong preference, if you like, of stable inflation. Stable inflation.
So they are all part.
You would look at, some would go the way of regulation as well, but we have a free market. So you would look at open markets. You would look at low unemployment rates. You would consider increments in home construction, which we have quite a deficit for. The deficit is about 1.8 million. You would look at optimism measured by consumer confidence, the indices, what they show. You would look at your exchange rate and some of these dynamics. So I'm sure you know where I'm headed.
Okay.
You can talk about GDP growth of 5.7%. It's a good thing at the macro level. At the micro level, some of these things I have mentioned are the very things that impact the ordinary person, the ordinary Ghanaian. Did you, in that regard, leave a strong economy?
The exchange rate.
I mean, I've mentioned a number of things on these factors.
Let me come in. If you look at exchange rate, what I said took care of that, talking about being import-driven economy, because it helps this exchange rate issues. And apart from country-specific challenges such as the black market that we haven't had a solution to, which we have to. If you talk about...
Is there a solution to the black market, though?
Just yeah, I think so. I think so. I think all governments, including my government, haven't really gotten it right in terms of intentionality, confronting it. Either we find a way to rationalize it and officialize it and control it and absorb it into the official system so that we stop having a big variance between official rate and market rate, which is one of the big problems that even IMF and co raise, which we haven't done that. Because you know one thing about NPP and DC and all of us, including me, because we are always afraid of losing elections, certain decisions we don't take. And if we export almost everything, you get to that level. Then talking about unemployment, I talk about that. Talking about taxes where I did not. If you can give me a minute to explain these taxes.
Please go ahead.
Because you raised very important issues. I was going to raise all of that. I tackled the primary aspect. I was going to move into the secondary. Then you came with the secondary. Boss, when it comes to taxes, okay, both NPP and DC and Ghanaians, we need to have a new shift, a paradigm shift. We need to change our mindset. Now, it looks like even anything about tax is demonic because NPP wants to come to power. NDC will want to stay in power. So our tax policy management, we've forgotten the fact that it is calibrated in nature. When NDC guys want to bring new taxes, right now, you see my people, including even me. When NPP guys were in power and want to break taxes, you see what they do. And Ghanaians will follow because nobody wants to pay tax. But the issue is as a result of improper way of analyzing and managing our fiscal space. Okay. We always take that political decision. Our fiscal space has vital or essential ingredients, i.e. government expenditure, government programs, government this, government that, financing options. Do you have enough money from your revenue or you are borrowing too much? How do you harmonize them? So you remember that 2017, Akufo-Addo's government, President Akufo-Addo, former President Akufo-Addo's government, reduced or entirely took away certain tax items. They were, I think, about 12 or 17. You remember Cairo tax, real estate tax, medicines imported but not produced, those things. But later on, he started introducing taxes. Between 2014 and 2016, taxes that were increased items or introduced under NDC's government were over 20. I'm not saying they were wrong. I will never say that. We need to look at these things in the context of our situation. Do we keep on borrowing and destroy our country? Or we need to shift to the revenue aspect. People talk about widening the
tax net.
We've been saying this almost 30, 40 years. Am I lying? NDC and NPP, the whole Ghana. Why can't we do it? Why? Right. So the reason being that if you look at the artisans in Ghana here, most of them, look, those who do carpentry, the person who did my kitchen in Kumasi, I don't want to mention the figure, about 7 years ago. Recently, somebody came to do TV, just to put my TV on. It was almost 14,000. Did the person pay tax? So we need to look at these and then loopholes, leakages from politicians through...
Which is why there's been talk about rationalizing the entirety of the system, including the tax regime and maybe even VAT and what the dynamics are. But let me make this quick point and then we'll go full throttle on taxes and then get into the other bits. Your administration, in terms of revenue, you had the largest opportunities when it comes to oil revenue from one field under the Atta Mills Mahama administration to 3 under your tenure. You had the ESLA, the sinking fund, the $250 million plus other boons that you got. You also had the same COVID-19 you make mention of. You got some 24 billion Ghana cedis on the back of COVID from the likes of Japan and, other Bretton Woods institutions. You got all of those benefits. And then you talk about our debt and you say that the market was impaired. When you were engaging in, rampant projects, Agenda 111, $400 million sunk in with practically no returns. A National Cathedral project with about $50 million sunk in with no returns. 1D, 1F, 1V, 1D, free SHS. As for free SHS, its numbers are low, so I think we don't even need to add it in there. Why would the market not be impaired with the sort of management, how we managed the kitty? Why would it not be impaired?
In the first place, talking about market impairment is not about this one.
No, you're not getting me.
No, I am
not drawing clear lines. I don't want you to go down that road. I'm not drawing a delineation between these and definitely the market being impaired. What I'm saying is, with the debt situation, our debt profile, and all these other dynamics, why will our internal market not be impaired?
So what I'm saying, the impairment of the market I was talking about it was not actually stemmed from this one. I was talking about a situation where some sort of a natural disaster had destroyed the world's market and Ghana's market. And the Ghanaians were asked to stay home. There was no activity.
So specifically, you were only specifying
No, that is what I was talking about. A situation where that made Ghana go into that unfortunate space, which other places we all went. That was it.
So that was the only focus? Because I'm extending the...
But even when I was talking, I didn't say that was the only. You remember? Okay. But if you want to extend it to this, then I give explanation. Okay. Because it wasn't this that impaired the market.
Our debt profile did not impact where we found ourselves?
Now you're talking about impact. You said impaired. Let's look at that. Let's choose our vocabularies well.
Sure.
If you're talking about impact, then I can explain.
Let's focus on impact.
But you focus on impact. Allow me to. It's impact.
Yes, focus on impact.
Thank you. Then it's a different ball game. Because you know how the world is. I know you mean well, but you know how now Ghana, small thing, they change it. Now let's pick Agenda 111. I'm surprised you're talking about Agenda 111 has no returns. Seriously? Agenda 111 is ongoing. One, even check Inyiresi between Kumasi and Accra Road. Have you seen it there? People were posting different stages, some of them 90%, some 50, some 40. It was ongoing. You see visibly the infrastructure.
How many years did Agenda 111 go on?
Do you know something? You said whole, or can you allow me to explain?
How many years? It's a part of the conversation.
I don't know.
How many years did Agenda 111?
I don't know, so let me explain. What I'm saying is that...
It went on for more than 2 years, at least.
And so...
111 projects.
Do you know something? Have you made up your mind that you have set up something in your mind?
No,
allow me.
No, I have not.
You know you're even talking more than I do. Boss, you stated about 4 things. Let me explain. If you don't want the program to be nice, go ahead. Because no, I will not allow you.
Let me just do this.
Boss, I will not. Don't do that. I will not allow you.
This is my show.
So you can let me go. You can say I should go. You stated 1, 2, 3, 4 things. I'm explaining. You say you let me explain.
I will allow you to explain.
No,
I'm not saying that I will not allow you.
What you are doing is very unfair. This thing you guys do here, it's not right.
You did this with Samson Ladi.
Because you have prejudicial positions. This is what you are doing.
Everybody here has a prejudicial
Because what you are doing is wrong. You ask somebody 4 long questions. Allow me to answer them. If you're not, let me go.
Sticker.
No.
Let me set this
You
precedent.
know the way I am. I'm very straightforward, nice person.
I intentionally let you have a lot of time to talk.
You asked Agenda 111. You asked Cathedral. You asked 1. So let me finish.
You did
don't
this.
come and ask me when the... No,
if you allow me to finish, you will continue.
No,
you did this with Samson Ladi and Yenini.
Because Samson Ladi...
And you've done it with me in the past.
Samson Ladi wanted me to concentrate on energy debt to appraise the whole economy. And I said that was not where we should start from.
Go ahead.
Boss, You ask.
Go ahead.
No, because of the question you asked, let me finish that.
Go ahead. When you are done, I'll come through with other points. Go ahead.
Can I speak now?
Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
I've given you the go ahead.
You said that Agenda 111 has brought no returns. So I was talking about, let me finish, you ask me again. Okay. But I don't start, then you come in.
Just make it
How
brief.
long?
Go ahead. Just make it brief.
You are asking questions. You don't ask briefly. You brief questions. Let me finish. There is a project going on. One, the structure we have has added to our GDP. If you are calculating GDP in any country of any country. So don't tell us it hasn't given us returns. Maybe you don't know that aspect. When you are calculating how we are growing, all the projects we have, where we're reaching, they add to it as a value. Two, it is capex. It's infrastructure. The most important aspect of every economy, the essential ones, education and health. Look at the hospitals we have in our country. Are they enough or not enough? So you can't say that ongoing projects haven't brought anything when they are ongoing. They've added to our GDP in terms of deriving direct benefit in terms of functions. We are getting there. They have a 90-something, whatever. The government should continue and finish. Now you come to cathedral. Honestly, I am not against cathedral because I'm a Christian. But I am with those who are raising concerns about how much has gone into our foundation. Because I also share with them, I think that money should be investigated. And people who are raising concerns are right, even though I'm NPP. Two, I personally think even the location is a problem. Having International Conference Center and having Parliament there, they could have taken it somewhere. So talking about the money in cathedral is a huge concern that I share with those who are criticizing.
Right.
But of course, we need to finish investigation on that. Then you come to 1D1F. I'm telling you today, if you are talking about 1D1F, if it hasn't really attained its best expectation, probably we can analyze that. But in this country, we don't need anything more than building sustainable industries to create jobs and become economically dependent and build on so that our taxes will rather come from production more, which the then government had the best decision in the world. We have over 100 private companies supported by 1D1F, but it also has challenges that you are raising. I agree with you. So if you are talking about how we manage our policies, I agree with you. But anybody that wants to condemn 1D1F doesn't understand how a developing economy...
I don't think it's
No, I'm talking about in general, please. Okay. No, you.
All right.
Doesn't understand how a developing economy that is endowed with wide range of commercially viable raw materials, natural resources, human resource, skill component of the human resource, and we are looking forward to create the needed connection. Okay. I call it from farm to the factory. Okay. 1D1F is so much important. They come to free SHS. But for free HSS, over 100,000.
I think I made the point that even how much we spend there, as for how good a policy it is, we flogged that horse time without number. I have sat here and said it so many times. I've said that my problem has to do with part of the execution. So let's even leave it out, because even the sums of money going into free SHS are not that huge. Let's face it. So I even took that out. If you're done with those points, can I come in now?
Yes, please.
All right. What do you call a hospital?
What do I call?
A hospital.
I think, in my layman's view, a hospital is an institution, organization, or a system that offers healthcare opportunities or provides healthcare for the citizens or citizenry or for the people. That's what I call a hospital. That's my layman's view.
Yes, but I get that point. But when you walk into an establishment, what would tell you this is a hospital?
What would tell me?
This is a hospital.
Anything that qualifies for the definition I've given you qualifies for.
Okay. As far as I am concerned, a hospital is the structure, fully fitted, with equipment, with staff up and running. Is any of the Agenda 111 hospitals in that state currently?
I am surprised. I told you some of them 90% completed.
No, you're not answering my question.
No, because the question you're asking, I don't know.
Do you have any of those 101 establishments set up, wired, fitted with logistics, equipment, with human resource, doctors, paramedics, and others there working so that I or that person in Kwesi can walk into that facility and say, I'm going to seek medical care?
Allow me to answer this.
Please go
In the first place, sitting here, I don't know. 2, development is a process. I quite remember, but quite in all those places, it was Kufuor who started them. I even had the figures. NDC came under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. They also started some of them, and even continuing these things. Nana Addo came. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, when handing over this country, had not finished most of them. He also continued. So I really don't know where you're coming from. But so far
where I'm coming from,
so far as I'm concerned, about 90% of even the one I saw at Enyiresi, and most of them are there. They are in stages, it's a process.
You started with 88. You gave yourself timelines. You increased it to 111. You stated categorically, Mr. President, the former president, stated categorically that they would be completed. Now, as of today, you don't have, out of 111, you don't have one that is complete, that can be called a hospital. That's why I'm asking you that in terms of
so does it mean
the returns, these structures are there. I'm not saying they are useless. No. Else we would also say that the E-blocks that were left bequeathed to the NPP in 2017 were useless. Were they useless? They were not.
They were not.
So no one is saying they are useless. Saglemi was not useless.
No,
it's just that we left it to rot. But the point
maybe
is...
also your choice of word. If you say they had not given us any return, that is where
as of now, I'm talking, and that's why I was asking what qualifies as a hospital. As of today, what returns are we getting from them?
They have added to our GDP value. That's one. You should know that.
So you are confirming that
some of the returns
today,
are long term.
Not one out of the 111 is complete in the proper sense of a hospital.
Do you know that the structures...
No, just answer.
No, I want to answer with this scenario. You look at multimedia. I started coming here. They had not even done a Sempa. You see how it's progressing. There are structures I've seen you've done here that you haven't started using them. Can anybody say that they haven't given us any returns?
But
no,
they
add to your assets.
But there were other aspects running.
Yeah, but the other hospitals that under Nana Addo we completed and they're running. The other
so you think this was prudent, investing 400 million? In fact, some of your own party members have said that it would have made more sense to maybe do about 20% of them first and to have completed.
Oh, that would have been a very good option.
Would that not have made sense?
No. Oh, it doesn't mean what we are doing doesn't make sense.
No, I'm not saying, would it not have made more sense?
Let me explain something to you today. I share with what you're saying. I will not do that partisan pay. You know the way I am. It's perfect. But let me tell you, when it comes to decision-making processes all over the world, it has objective. Towards your objectives, we have alternative ways of getting there. Then you analyze the alternatives. You pick one. Somebody can say, oh, this one would have been better. So I share with you that we could have done maybe 10, 20 to complete. Whilst we do others, that one perfect. I think that person who says that, I agree with him. Perfectly well. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I think we are all not perfect in discharging our duties and doing things. Even you, the way you manage your home, the way you dress, somebody can say that, oh, you or me, Sticker, you could have done this. And that person's statement might have made sense or better sense than mine.
Indeed.
I hope you understand what I'm saying. Because you're a human being. Sometimes, if the person had been in your shoe, probably you are taking the same decision you took at that time. But standing somewhere, he has a better analysis of what is going on. He can make input. So I agree with you perfectly well.
Let's talk taxes. I wanted us to quickly segue into that. The NDC has said that it's taking away the e-levy, the betting tax, and a host of others. There was the conundrum of the emissions levy, whether it was active, it wasn't active. What do you make of that? Before I narrow down on one or two of them, what do you make of the taxes? Because your spokesperson on the economy, Kojo Oponkroma, had said that one, on the back of the SONA, the NDC's finance minister or the country's finance minister had to be truthful, and that secondly, they should not introduce any new taxes. What do you think about the tax per the 2025 budget?
What I've seen is that they made promises. And the explanation I can give you is that tax management, please get me You can call any professor to come and say any other thing. Tax management in terms of policy is calibrated in nature. We should understand. You don't wake up and say, I'm increasing tax or I'm reducing taxes. It depends on your fiscal space, situation, or condition. So that's why I cited that between a period of about 2 years, NDC government, or 3 years, introduced and increased tax items, almost 26. Those were the days they brought KIO tax, condom tax, and all those taxes. Nanadu came.
Which one was the KIO tax?
They had this 1% in NDC time. It was there. I cannot, because we took it away. You remember, in our country. Then Nanadu came 2017. He took away taxes. I'm sure even that one I have, yes. I didn't want to. Number of taxes Nanado's government actually took away were amounting to about, is it 12 or 17? They are here. This is a state budget, so I can't lie. They are here. But after that too, Nanado's government started introducing new taxes and adding some. Why? Tax policies are not necessarily made out of political decisions. So if they are in government today, the time we're introducing taxes, what was our situation? We needed to increase our domestic revenue because our debt to GDP was going up, because we had fallen short of over 12 billion, because corporate taxes and payees were going down. Now, these situations are not fully restored, but they are in better positions than those times. So if they want to take away the taxes, they have analyzed the economic situation. Now we are growing 5.7, no longer 0.4, even higher than 2016, 3.6. Now our debt to GDP is not 72.5 that they left, it's 61.5. And they think they can make room for other areas and make more money and have a very healthy economic factors that you and I were listing. Why not? I don't want to come and condemn them. And in any case, they are increasing mining tax. One would have also said that the mining sector was the very sector that saved Ghana when everything seemed to have come to a standstill in terms of growth. So why we wouldn't allow them this space to also consolidate their growth and also stabilize and continue to help us and expand so that we get more corporate taxes from them. So it's I think, in my opinion, it's a discretionary decision of the government.
You think at the time when, and this is on the back of the hue and cry of the ordinary Ghanaian, you remember when the e-levy was going to be introduced and the hue and cry on the streets, the COVID-19 levy, CSOs, media, Ghanaians we interacted with kept saying, after what, a year, 2 years, why do we still have it on our books, COVID-19 levy? Then you introduce the betting tax, which we will get to shortly. You think introducing these at the time was apt? Do you think so?
My opinion, as an expert, as a financial economist in that area, yes. But the point is, who wants to pay tax in any way? And this thing, let's also get this in clearly in our country. You see the work you are doing here. If you put me here, I can't do it. Honestly. People think it's easy doing this. See what I'm taking you to. See what you're going through. Maybe your research, you're the nice way you're asking questions and all those things, thinking on your feet. I can't do it. I think we should allow meritocracy sometimes. We should accord it the needed respect. When you are not well and you go to the hospital, a doctor can diagnose you and say that, my brother, your challenges are A, B, C, D. You need to take medicine A, B, C, D. They might not be palatable. They may give you nausea. They may let you probably panic or something, or they may be bitter. But the doctor knows that, yes, it's bitter today, but tomorrow will save you. The only aspect I agree with you is how we use our taxes. Judiciously. I mean, we have huge challenge there. Don't let me come here and behave like we are angels. Whether in this or NPP, even whether GRA, whatever it is, we need to also do something about it. But taxes are not demonic or demons. Depending on how and when and the amount that you need to tax to get the target you want in domestic revenue generation so that you save the country and the people from perpetual distraction or deterioration.
And I agree
I don't know
with
if you understand what I'm saying.
I agree with you to a large extent, but it's also about, yes, you've mentioned one of the key spin-offs, if you like. If you collect taxes, if you get revenue, what are you using the revenue for?
Exactly.
How is it bettering the life of the ordinary Ghanaian?
And I beg
but
you,
the timing.
Not this. Can I say something, Bill? Or I should wait?
Go ahead.
Okay, when you finish. Okay, my boss, what I'm also trying to say is that one area that I think we also fail, I've seen NDC failing, NPP failing, is how we communicate some of these things to get a cascading effect along the social stratification. What I mean is that my mother doesn't understand a lot of things I'm talking about. You don't you do, I do. We have teachers, nurses, doctors, farmers, different people with different strata, the way they understand things. So if we fail to explain the importance of taxes, the benefits they would derive in the long term or medium term very well and bring them along, I'm sure the people will agree. And if NPP NDC stops demonizing that policy because one wants to stay in power or come to power, I'm sure Ghanaians will begin to appreciate this and understand.
Again, I agree with you. I want to politicians sometimes bastardize taxes. Developed economies have ridden on taxes, but if you tax, you shouldn't tax into the ground. In other words, it shouldn't be a situation where you are slapping the person you are taxing left, right, front, back, and all of that. And you know this. If you tax people to the ground, that is where there will be more tax avoidance, there will be more tax evasion, and in the end, you may recoup much less revenue than expected. But if you create a system where people feel, I can still pay my taxes, benefit from the system. After all, if the road leading to my office is good, I am saving from my taxes. If an ambulance can get to me when I need it, I am saving from my taxes. But the timing, when someone is down already and you kick the person, it seemed to be a bit unfair. So the timing of some of these taxes. But my question substantively then is, if you feel these taxes were apt, why is it that in the last campaign, there was the move to take away, per Dr. Baumia and your manifesto, take away the betting tax, take away the e-levy? Why?
First, I said it's calibrated in nature. We are realizing that we're growing and restoring most of the downturned primary and secondary indicators. Do you know that 2016, even 2016 that we didn't have all these serious crises, agriculture was growing 2.7. By 2024, we're growing 4.5 per the provisional figures as of November 2024. That we were leaving the industry because we lost the election. Agric was growing 2016, 4.3. We left by November provisional figure, we're growing 8.9. Services, 2.8.
The juxtaposition, which years are you using? When you mentioned 4.3, you mentioned 8.9.
2016.
Okay, all right.
And then,
so now you've clarified.
Then provisional figures, November 2024. That if the changes will even go anything to go. But in fact, we're even in November, we're growing 6.3 provisional figures. And now the official figure is 5.7. So, as I said, because it is calibrated in nature, one could see where we are heading and say that at this point, we will have to remove, of course, taking into consideration the outcry of Ghanaians.
All right. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying. Does it make sense what the finance minister has done to take away these taxes? As of now, does it make sense to take away the taxes?
Let me come in. I have not condemned him taking away the taxes. Now, we call something asymmetric information. As we are talking now, Dr. Atto Forsen has better picture and insight into the underlying factors. So he can say that, oh, per what I've met, per my program, per what I'm doing, it's not only the fact that I promised, but if I take away the taxes, I can actually do something and still maintain that level of utility or satisfaction Ghanaians need. So I cannot condemn him. And then he gave explanation. He said that he's reducing tax refund 6% to 4%, and use the 2% to make room for. In financial economics, we call this approach or technique strategic financial configuration, which is not bad. But the question is it enough to cater for the room that has been created.
I hope you understand. And you were in Parliament, he made mention of the deficit and how these sums of money, in fact, per the calculations, it would take care of what the betting tax would have accrued, and I believe
that's what I'm saying. He is
right?
saying. So I'm asking a question. You see, I don't have to conclude because of politics, and I don't have to say is this. So what I'm saying,
because you made it in the form of a question. So I just wanted to say that he had concluded on how much he was hoping it would raise per previous figure.
So if he now is in the helm of affairs, because they say the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating thereof. If he is handling the economy of this country, he has his programs, he has his projections, then one would have also said that maybe that is the reason his target, almost about 80% of his target, is below what he inherited. He is targeting about 4%. He inherited 5.7. Right. Apart from gross foreign assets, and then current balance, almost all the targets Dr. Atoforsen is setting, they are below what he inherited. So maybe he has decided to perform below what he took over because he wants to cut his coat according to his size and live in a situation where he will not throw the economy out of something he cannot manage.
Is that necessarily the case? Yesterday I interacted with...
my statements are all hypothetical.
Okay.
If you hear what I'm saying.
So it's a maybe.
Exactly. So he knows. But what I'm saying is that I hope he's not being induced by this whole political promises and campaign messages and take a decision that in the long term will jeopardize and deteriorate the very fiber of our economy. I hope so.
Okay.
I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. Let's look at the betting tax, because after those claims were made that they were taking it off, then Dr. Amin Adam said, ladies and gentlemen, we never collected the betting tax that they said they had abolished.
I knew this would come.
We never implemented the betting tax. So to come and tell Ghanaians that you have abolished something that was never implemented is to deceive the people of Ghana. You were at the ministry, did you implement the betting tax?
Honestly, I went in with my boss, Amin. I sent my greetings to him this very morning. The very time that, in fact, the most pressing and compelling issues to deal with was this whole thing about meeting the indicative targets, managing the economy to meet the approvals. You know where Ghana was heading towards. So our concentration was so much oriented towards managing all these good things that we have gotten these good results. In fact, I was in charge of wealth creation. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
I was not in charge of revenue generation, taxes. So some of the pieces of the information I may not have been previewed to. I want to be honest with you. I don't want to come and guess or speculate anything. But Dr. Amin, honestly, you know me, I don't fear anything. If I have anything negative about him, I would say it. He's very, very hardworking, open. He's not somebody that you sit there and intentionally concoct stories and tell Ghanaians. Honestly speaking.
So from where you sit, you are telling me you can't answer the question about whether it was implemented or not.
Whether it was not. I think GRA sent some things I had read before. If it is GRA's thing, then I'll have to relook at it again. But here, I don't, because I was in charge of, as I said, wealth creation. And wealth creation, you don't deal with revenue.
Okay.
I hope you understand.
So the facts as we know it, and our in-house research teams have also done their work on
And what's
this
the results?
On the day of the budget, the 11th, we had Dr. Kasilato Atoforsen join us and make mention of the fact that about 80 million Ghana cedis had been raised from the betting tax. Yesterday, Seth Tekpe also came.
Is it this year or last year, 2024?
So from the time of the betting tax's introduction. And
so maybe it will start from 2020.
Mention has been made about the withholding aspect of the tax, and you are in the know about what that means. So there was the betting tax, which taxed the total revenues of betting companies and lottery earnings beyond a certain threshold. Then Former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta introduced new elements to the tax, including the taxing of earnings from sports betting, which essentially is the bone of contention here. But if you look at the dynamics of it, following that announcement, then the GRA announced a 20% and 10% tax on the revenue of lottery and sports betting companies, effective August 15, 2023. Before the implementation of Act 1094, then there was a withholding tax of 5% only on lottery winnings above 2,592 cedis and not sports betting. So then the new law brought on 10% for lottery earnings and this one for sports betting. And that can be captured because the GRA actually puts that forth. In fact, if you look at the dynamics, the GRA's domestic tax revenue division made mention of the fact that earnings on sports bettings in October 2023, the commissioner in charge of the DTRD, again, the domestic tax revenue division, Edward Jambra, then said, quote, during the first month of implementation, we averaged 20 million Ghana cedis for the GGR. As for the withholding tax, we've just started the betting season, but during the lean season, we averaged 15 million Ghana cedis. We anticipate this to quadruple by May. And finally, by way of evidence, I was once in a barber shop and a gentleman came, he was fuming, what was happening? And I overheard the conversation and he showed me something. So because they know what work I do, sometimes they would want to show me these things and lament, complain. He came and he had won, I think, almost close to 4,000 cedis. And he was telling me out of betting. But of course, you should know the ratios that sometimes you would have bet maybe 200 or 100 times or 50 times before getting that. And he said, almost 400, because he had earned almost 4,000 cedis. That was what he showed me. I also have here some receipts of the withholding tax, 522 cedis, 2,000 cedis, among others, from people's bets. How then could the finance minister, on the back of this, come and tell us that it hadn't been implemented when ordinary Ghanaians had been taxed?
Okay, you know, I've allowed you to speak for a long time.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. In the first place, if what my minister said is contrary to or contradicts your research, which I have no reason to doubt what you are saying or what has been put into the public domain, we should also take from the angle that he's a human being. He can make a mistake. He can make a mistake. But people shouldn't take it like intentionally he wants to deceive people. I mean, it's not that type. I'm telling you, just get close to him. I'm not saying he's perfect. But surprisingly, why can't we also applaud him leading this team that continue kind of for us work, for us to get to where one of the most, is it one of the, I don't know whether swiftest or the most, the speed and accuracy with which we're able to hold this economy, ensure our fiscal space is properly curtailed, consolidated, met almost all the indicative targets to get approval and get billions of dollars, because we could stick to the agreements we had, the IMF, and be very disciplined. That one, we will not talk about it. We were not sleeping day and night. My boss, myself, Abner, Dr. Mpabin, the directors there were working so hard. So even if this is taken to be a mistake, I'm saying this because I really don't have the primary information. So if I'm even believing what you're saying without conceding, and I also think you're not lying with all the figures out there, probably it could have been a mistake. So if somebody does something 98% correct and even makes 2% mistakes, then the person has to be crucified because we live in Ghana. I'm not saying people shouldn't talk about it, but please, if it is a mistake, he's a human being. I make a mistake. You make a mistake. Who doesn't make a mistake? Look, our present president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, somebody I really respect, I mean personally, despite everything. I don't have anybody like him in my family. He's a great man. What has he been saying about this economy? To the point that the economy is even at ICU center. Even recently, came to Parliament House. And just about a week after, we are realizing the economy is growing 5.7. Our debt to GDP, almost all the primary macro indicators and secondary macro indicators are better positioned than even 2016. He handed over power to us. I mean, can you chastise him? Of course, there are bad ones too that he said that they were true. So please, what I can say is that even if my minister, my ex or my former ex-minister, my former ex, sorry, because if I'm not careful, people will say that he is no more a minister, which I agree. I think the fact that we want to deal with is that even if it was a mistake, he's a human being. But I want to tell Ghanaians that Dr. Amin that I know, intentionally, he will never ever come out there and create a space to deceive Ghanaians.
Okay.
He will not do that.
I can take your word for that. I mean, following this, we also heard Dr. Gideon Boakon, I believe Kojo Opon Kroma, among others, also talk about this situation. But let's let that slide. I think the cat is out of the bag on that issue. But just to conclude, we have about 5 minutes, so I'm just going to throw these at you. Answer how you're tired. Eh? How viable is this budget? That is one. Two, will the minority in Parliament, I mean, I know it has to go through appropriations and everything else. Will your side approve? I mean, looking at what the budget entails. And finally, our debt situation, ECG, Cocoa Board, the IPPs and all of that. Do you think the approach is right to deal with our debt situation? Because if ECG's situation is not dealt with, our lights will start doing, disco dancing. What do you think of these three? Decide to address it how you want to.
What is the approach?
What is which approach?
Yeah, no, so their approach. You mean?
I mean, they've mentioned what the debt situation is, how they are going to try to rein in expenditure, rationalization, fiscal policies, and all of that. And I'm asking for the budget.
Before I come in the first place, the situation you're talking about, I'm not rationalizing or justifying it. Whether it is so or not so, which I think it is so.
Oh, you're still talking about the betting tax?
No, you're talking about the debt.
Okay, all right.
At the departmental levels or whatever.
Right.
It's the same recycling thing. We're in Ghana when NPP won power. Weren't we talking about these things here in your studio? The same thing. You leave, somebody comes, he continues, he pays the debt you left. I quite remember, even this thing they are talking about, rollover, that they've taken money for cocoa they have not provided or supplied. Then it's been going on for almost 30 years.
And syndicated loan.
Yes, NDC actually left about 200,000 tons. We left about 300,000 tons. In fact, the time we left 300,000 tons, Ivory Coast left about 500,000 tons. It's a practice. It's not like somebody put Ghana in a jeopardized situation. That is one. Two, in fact, even under NDC, they were charging 1 kilometer road, cocoa road, about $440-something thousand per kilometer. It's our government that came in, did a lot of reviewing and revisions or whatever, and brought it to about 200 and something, less than 300, 3 minutes. Okay. So these are practices that we need to find a long-term solution in dealing with them. Because they are not palatable. But I want to tell you, it's not specific. It's not government specific.
Right.
Two, I beg them. They shouldn't be overly ambitious and because of politics embark on adventures that will throw this country back into a situation that we cannot pick it back again, especially in managing our fiscal space. I'm only begging them
because... You just mentioned that they were trying to be very measured, even in terms of the GDP growth estimations,
I'm saying
in terms of expenditure and all of that.
That is the target he said. So I'm saying hypothetically. But the promises that he's listing, we are waiting if they can materialize them.
They are talking about uncapping the GET fund, uncapping NHIS to feed. I'm just adding to why they are saying what they are saying.
Uncapping
and
them,
the taxes
it's not bad.
That.
I think that one is a good decision. But let's see how that margin that we are going to get is going to be utilized. Because we cap them when? The time that our ration budget had worsened because of revenue situations. That one I've been explaining over and over and over. So the times we're capping them, they were for specific set of goals that today we have attained most of them. So uncapping them, good news. But how are we going to utilize them to benefit the entire country? 1 minute, please. I'm advising this country, especially NDC NPP. Most of the things should fall within the same intersection or intersect. We should have common interests and get rid politics, tax issues, fuel issues, even borrowing. And
so
last,
you're basically calling for more honesty when it comes to that.
Exactly.
And you are referring to the NPP and the NDC.
The two all.
Okay.
And then lastly, I beg them, this expenditure cut, control your expenditure. Most of the times, as a country, we do them qualitatively. Whether in this year, that's I've seen, I may be wrong. Elsewhere, I want to end with this. You don't wake up and say, I'm cutting this 2%, 3%. No. You run proper financial, mathematical analysis. Because you need to do either regression, correlation, or time series analysis to enable you know that if I cut 2% of this, it will affect 0.11% of GDP. It will affect social utility 2%. This one will not affect at all, so I can throw them away. Let's do that mathematics.
I think you're headed in the right direction there. It will take quite a while for us to get there.
No, we
but
can.
Quickly.
Some of us have
you still not answered my question about whether your side will approve the budget. And something just came to mind very quickly.
Yeah, I haven't answered that.
The central bank is calling for a bailout.
You're
looking at. Oh yes, you do.
Okay.
but your 1 minute is passed, by the way. They are calling for a bailout of about 53 billion Ghana cedis. Which this administration inherited. And the finance minister is saying, no. I mean, just because you were doing the cost-benefit analysis, that's what brought this to mind. The finance minister says, no, we can't afford to do that, else ordinary Ghanaians will bleed here and there. What do you think about that decision? And then you can let me know, will your side in Parliament support the budget?
Our side, we are going through the budget. It's early day yet. We also have leadership.
Do you have the copies now?
No,
because I think there were claims
I printed the highlights.
Okay.
And that will
you don't have the full budget here.
Yes. So we are going to read and take our time because we don't want to make arbitrary decisions.
Right.
We don't want to be too political.
Okay. So
if you are raising issues, they are genuine, back with materiality.
Okay.
I hope you understand. Then coming to Bank of Ghana thing, I think it's an issue between fiscal policies and monetary policies. That in this country we're having a lot of problems. We have not been able to develop the needed marriage, equilibrium and balance between the two.
And the monetary policy rests at the doorstep of the central bank.
Come again, yes.
The monetary policy rests at the doorstep of the central bank.
Sure, and then fiscal policy, the government. So is that the executive body here and the Bank of Ghana here. Why I cannot give any definite inferences here is that I'm not privy to the current or the present situation and underlying variables that are asking and compelling Bank of Ghana to demand this. And also, that is also making the finance minister and the government saying no. So
but it's also on the back of the debts of the Bank of Ghana, which you are privy to, almost 60 billion from the rollover from, the last administration. You are fully aware of that.
I don't think that situation is really just one government. All debts in Ghana situation.
No, I'm just saying what I say from.
But what I'm saying is, even if that is it, as we are talking now, I don't know.
Okay.
So I think the two all should be clear.
All right.
Ato should be able to explain to Ghanaians very well.
Right.
And then Bank of Ghana should also be able to give better justification.
Dr. should also be able to.
Better justification.
Right.
Then Ghanaians will be well informed. Then we can make input.
It's been good having you join me this morning.
Tough.
It's been tough. You made me laugh. Dr. Stephen Amoah, we all call him Sticker. He's Member of Parliament for HIS.
I learned Honorable Chairman Sabosu came here and said, my sticker is Stephen Kwaku Amoah. But that is not so. Because people were asking me that they knew me in school. A sticker. Because I used to chew and pour, memorize. Trigonometry, you know, mathematics. You call the formulas.
So that's how the name sticker came about.
And sometimes somebody will even misplace his nose. Then the person will bring it. If it's geography, geography is a science that deals with human relationship and then they will be writing full stop. So they started sticker.
Oh, so it sticks there.
It sticks.
Sticker.
So
okay, I never had this.
My name is Yao, not even Kweku.
Oh, you're a fellow Yao.
Yeah. And
okay.
You give me hard time like
And that is so Stephen Yao Amoah, Dr. Stephen Yao Amoah, the Shiaso legislator. He's also a former Deputy Minister for Finance and Economic Planning. Before we take a breather, if you're thinking solar, it's a good thing, but where do you get the right systems from? Select a solar system from our various solar packages ranging from 30,000 to 99,000 Ghana cedis. And note that all our solar systems come with lithium-ion batteries. But that's not all. We also have solar water heaters, a solar home system, a solar power station, or a solar generator ranging from 1,000 watts to 20,000 watts. Sticker says he wants some. Okay, so if you want to sell, they also sell reverse osmosis machines for water treatment. All you have to do, where you have to go, is Solar Mate Ghana. You can check them out on Google, find them on Facebook and Instagram, and their number is 0508 320 470. Sticker will be taking that number. Solar Mate Ghana is located at Adri Ghana, East Legon. Solar Mate, we go everywhere. Shortly, we'll be bringing you back into the studio with more insightful conversations. Please stay.